from early strong fights and already getting decent positioning here early on as EnVision comes in from the back.
A very early kill.
Ooh.
Jaru takes down Rob. There goes Avast as well. That is both supports down, and everyone else will fall shortly thereafter. Some interesting compositions here. I mean, with LG Evil, you never know who's going to play what. They put everyone on everything all the time. Jaru not going to be playing Genji because they want the Tracer on the ground, because Saini can also play absolutely everything, and he's going to be on the Pharah of the Pharmacy combo.
In terms of switch-ups here for LG Evil, what do you think of the part where they don't have Super on the Winston? Because I feel like taking a deeper look at this is a little bit confusing given the fact that Super can play a really good Winston. I understand that there's swap-ups here where maybe they think Train is their strongest Genji, but I don't know. This is kind of tough to take your star Winston player and take him away from the Winston.
I completely agree. I think a lot of LG Evil compositions come out to trying to find what Vol is most comfortable on. He's been trying to find a home of really his best hero for quite a while, and has never really gotten there. But I think taking Super off the Winston is just straight up a mistake.
Well, mistake or not, the LG Evil is able to pierce through on their second attempt. Jake darting in and around the Tracer, able to make way, and has a pulse bomb up here for this next fight here. And this is, again, one of those maps where you talk about places for good Tracer ambushes. Your entire team has to go through a tiny area. It is pulse bomb central, and that's what Jake is setting up here right now. Creeping to the side, looking for a pulse bomb opportunity. Gets chased away in the beginning, but this isn't going to stop him, Hex. He dives in deep, drops the bomb, and just barely almost hits fire.
Yep, maybe Train does get in there with the Dragon Blade as he comes in, takes on fire. Coffee also there is going to be taken down by Vol, so they are going to try to take this back with a couple of early kills.
They're working on it right now, but LG Evil getting the better of it so far. Saini dropping the barrage and gets dropped in turn. That has been a press Q to die button here today, Hex.
It has been. You might want to check volume levels here. Apparently I'm quiet and I'm not yelling so far, so I don't know. I read chat all the time.
Now you're back, Hex, so you're totally fine.
Yay! Everyone can hear me.
Well,
don't worry.
It's been a while. There's most I'll give it there. But
it's fine. No one needs to hear what I say anyway, for the most part.
I want to hear what you say. I heard everything that you said.
And it was so insightful and amazing.
All right, well, we are getting back into it. LG Evil holding on to the point right now, and bear in mind that even though they're holding on to it, they're still down in the map here so far, so still plenty of ways that this can be flipped right back over by EnVision. Jaru already to the side, looking for his targets, and this self-destruct connects. Rob 420, barrier or no, that will ruin your day as Zenyatta. Jaru able to rewind right back out, still holding on to the pulse bomb, and LG Evil under assault here. Even as they poke back, there's a definite tilt towards EnVision in this team fight.
Absolutely, and Saini is able to get a little bit of damage there, but then taken out quite immediately after. I wonder if that's going to be an insta-res from Phozix. It is. He wants his Pharah back with him, largely to get himself some escapes into the sky. That is so important to have Pharah there, and she does end up bringing it back. Still not able to clean out this point entirely, as Vol decides to come back in, has some support. Will eventually evict all of LG Evil from this point, though.
I like the part where Jake is just sitting here watching the carnage going, do I go in now? And that position doesn't really present itself. And as a result, EnVision will be able to retake control of this point. A little bit of final cleanup to deal with here, but damage has been done here from LG Evil. They only need one more good team fight to flip this back in their favor.
So very close between the two teams. And for the next one, I think the main factor is going to be the Transcend. Can you hold it long enough to give Train some options here as they try to hold out in the courtyard? It's an interesting spot that they're trying to get in here from. They do come in, self-destruct on the point though.
Well, they go in, and the blade is out here from Train, looking for victims here early on. Not able to get as much as he wants because of the sound barrier. He's going to have to put that one away. Meanwhile, Saini to the backline, has the barrage, and drops the barrage directly into the defensive matrix. Not what you wanted to see there, as LG Evil on the verge of retaking this now in overtime. A very decisive fight in their way. Coffee going to be one of the final ones to fall. And McGravy right now, it's always rough when you have to throw your body onto the point as the last person there. Never a great feel. Now, here's the question, can you even delay significantly in this situation? They do have Lucio trying to get in, and he does. Fire sacrifices his body to get in there just in time. Saini coming in off the flank. Will they be able to pull this one back? Difficult with the space control that LG Evil has right now.
Those aren't the people you want delaying. You don't want your Mercy and Lucio alone delaying. And now the sound barrier comes out for LG Evil as they try to put an end to this stage, and it will end 99-99. A pretty strong effort from EnVision at the very least. And still, I don't know, still some questions about LG Evil, largely just some of the composition stuff they were doing.
The composition it's still weird. I mean, I understand that you have the entire dilemma of Vol looking for his place in the team, but it is just weird when Super has been pretty much lauded as one of the very much higher tier not Genjis, but Winstons in the scene, and now you've swapped him off to Diva, and Train, who plays a very good Diva, you've swapped him off to Genji, and the reasoning here has to be the part where Train is the best Genji on the team, and or one of the best Genjis when Jake is on Tracer, and therefore they want to run it this way, but it's a lot of swapping, and it's just... It's difficult for a team to adjust to.
It's odd. The only people really on the heroes they've always played are their supports, because, I mean, Train's also a great Tracer, is the issue. There's a lot of interesting moving parts here for LG Evil. Maybe they're trying some stuff out. That's the only thing I can think of. Early on, though, Super already out of the mech, and there goes Vol. Both tanks already out of the mix for LG Evil.
Well, the thing about switching up to this degree, too, is that LG Evil, when they've done well off of their tanks working really well in unison, and Super and Train have very good synergy when they're both on dive tanks, so it is a little strange.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the question is then, what do you put Vol on? Is he a good enough Tracer or Genji is the question. So, I mean, Jake can play a lot of everything. That's never really been an issue for him, but I made no, secret of it. Super would have been my World Cup tank if I was picking the team. So, a little bit odd he's not on Winston. Just, I guess we'll leave it at that.
Lucky to get out of there with his life. He had to leap in early, and it just leaps right into the barrage. Saini with a barrage that gets a kill and keeps him alive, so progress being made there as the engage is just very, very tough here from LG Evil, and as a result, EnVision should be able to maintain control in this fight.
Maybe a nice late kill onto Phozix, though, means that no resurrection is going to be available, and LG Evil sees this as their window. They're going to use Transcendence, and the blade comes out. They want to flip this back over now, get a couple staggered members here, and I think they will eventually take this point back.
There was no answer to the Transcendence there immediately, but the Resurrection is able to keep the fight still in contest. The problem there is that they resurrected when they had multiple people still damaged, so it's not really an ideal res. It gives them more delay here. If that's what they're going for, great, but it's certainly not going to win them the fight at this point.
No, the delay does still come in 60%. I mean, when that fight, or when the delay started, it was like 35 to 40, so you'll always take a free 20% if you can, even though it sometimes means feeding some ultimates in there. LG Evil will capture this point for the first time in the match, and Saini on the Pharah might have a more difficult time getting in now.
He could, but he almost takes out a Vost early on. He's going to force out the early sound barrier here from LG Evil. And EnVision right now just working the outside, trying to get in. They lose Coffee really early on, though. Rob420 was there at the focus. And Rob420, not to be denied, Bloodthirsty Zenyatta play from the back, and that's going to be enough for LG Evil to hold this one back.
Yeah, Super gets a nice late kill. Jaru pulse bombed himself in an honorable act, I suppose. Instead of resetting, just decides to throw away his pulse bomb. And now 40% should be about even by the next time the hugest skirmish happens here. A couple of nice ults on the side of LGE. Maybe Jake can set up for a pulse bomb, and this map is always so hard to get in on. They're going to rotate through Pack Room. That's the pulse bomb I was talking about. Jake takes out his counterpart early.
Tracer versus Tracer going the way of Jake there. Self-destruct comes in from Super, doesn't quite connect, but he's going to be zoning EnVision well out of this fight. And already, what we see here is that EnVision has to back up fully and regroup. Jake even piling on just a bit.
Jake has come alive on the Tracer, and we'll see what Train really has on the Genji. To be honest, I haven't seen a lot of him on it, so I don't know if he's the greatest Genji or not. I know that Jake is a medium Genji. I wouldn't put him up there with agilities and the like of that, but he's always been a serviceable Genji. Maybe Train is their best player on it.
We'll have to see here in just a moment, as EnVision right now again working the outskirts with the Pharah. The self-destruct coming in over the top. It's a sneaky self-destruct. Does not land, but does zone LG Evil back a bit. Meanwhile, the Transcendence being out. Train dropping the blade, goes up for the anti-air Dragon Blade and connects, gets Phozix, and now deep on the Saini, gonna pick up him as well. So the Dragon Blade for Train is successful, and Jaru will get a taste of his own pulse rifle munitions as Train follows that one up as well.
McGravy just trying to do his best to dance on the point, holds the defense matrix up as long as possible, but demeched, and we know what word usually follows that. That is 2 stages already on Lijiang Tower for LG Evil, and you know, this is one of their best map types. They looked much stronger there than they did on the first stage too.
They definitely came out stronger, although there was a period where it looked like EnVision was doing well in the beginning, and that might be a consistent theme here where it feels like when EnVision does well in control, they're doing well in the very beginning, and then LG Evil, whether it be adapting to what they're doing or just getting their act together, finishes out much stronger. And that has led us to the situation we're in now, where we are going into Control Center, and EnVision now must pull the reverse sweep within the map to bring this one back.
Well, Train answered some questions there on his Genji. Train has almost always been my favorite player on this LG Evil team. No matter what he was playing on, I always thought he was a little overlooked because Jake got a lot of the glory, but Train has shown that he can play a ton of different heroes. Saini, for the moment, was queued up on Reaper. Unfortunately, we're not going to see that as teams look like they're running a mirror composition.
There's a bit of a mirror here. McGravy going in deep with the EnVision dive and gets what he's looking for in Rob 420. It's Jaru and McGravy combining to the back. And now, it works out well. EnVision, in the very beginning, catches LG Evil off guard, and that should lead to a first take, even as a little bit of delay does come out.
About 4 kills to 2, so it should be theirs unless the delayed really comes in late. They will give up first capture. Don't want to trickle more onto that point. First capture going the way of EnVision right now, and we'll see how they want to get back in here, where they're going to hold. I mean, I prefer when teams hold aggressively, but usually that was more in a triple tank meta.
We'll see just how aggressive EnVision is here. I mean, they are looking to be more on the front. They're not really bringing that back, and in fact, they deep dive back into LG Evil, but will it pay out? They get super down immediately, Jaru holding towards the back, but now LG Evil is still coming back in. They still have 5 up, and Saini in trouble right now. Baby Diva going to fall as LG Evil turns this one back in their favor.
They will grab it rather easily there. Late dash through will take out Jake, and now Jaru decides that he wants to one-man army this, takes out a couple alone, and now they get 3 quick kills.
Well, he got 3 kills, but they're not able to retake the point here immediately. It's a little bit late in the blade, but still could work out in their favor if the respawns come back in swiftly. Fire can drop the sound barrier here if it's necessary, and might not even be needed here as EnVision, though they lose control, they might be bringing this one right back.
Yeah, it's a gutsy play to use the ult there, but the 3 kills that they got turned it into a 4v3 on the point, and they've been cleaning up ever since.
I just need a little bit more here to flip this back, and they're going to get that. Vost throws his body into the fray, immediately falls. Don't know if that was entirely worth from Jake and Vost, but that will be the point flipping right back over.
It's such a fine line, right, of do I want to give my life up for the percentage points or to not feed into more ultimates, but they might have had the read that most of EnVision already had ults, so you're not necessarily feeding ultimate percentage, but you are gaining point progress, so it's hard to call.
Well, we do see the offense taking form here once more from LG Evil. They're just swinging the back. They're going to open up with the Diva self-destruct, and here comes Train, following up the blade out and on the ready, but Sound Barrier does not give him the targets he's looking for, and the Transcendence really doesn't give him what he's looking for, as Fire and McGravy able to combine, deal with Train there, who might have been the world's saddest Dragon Blade, and just piling on, McGravy drops the Pulse Bomb right after.
They did have to toss everything into that, though. They were loaded up. They might have Dragon Blade for the next fight, but that should be about it. Support ultimates will favor the side of LG Evil, as they would be able to get in here with a sound barrier. Knowing that the other side just burned it, that might be their best option.
At the very least, they can barrier, as I mentioned, use that to try and get an early kill. Avast right now staying to the back, and the dive comes in quickly, forces out the barrier, but they don't get it in time to save Rob 420s, so the barrier not giving them quite the advantage they're looking for. And LG Evil, it's in overtime. They can't leave the point for any reason now.
Jaru comes in with the blade, is able to take down Avast there. It's the only 1 kill there. Won't we stall out here in the form of Vol's Primal Rage, but he's stalling out a little bit off the point, looking for anything. Eventually, DMX Saini. That's about it so far.
This is something that they could still pull back if Jake was able to get a kill or 2 here, but it's going to be very difficult. They're starting to get outnumbered. He's not able to finish off McGravy because of the orb that was on him. And respawns coming in fast and furious here for EnVision. Saini's out of the fight, so there's still the possibility, but LG Evil is still working out of a deficit here.
Well, they've got 4 on the point, make that 3 as Coffee's gone on a tear, chasing everyone down. Self-destruct comes in over the top.
What?
Somehow doing
How
that.
did they retake that in the middle of that? There's still so many members of EnVision on the point. Oh, that is not something you can let happen in this situation. Still, though, EnVision is starting to clean up their act a little bit more here. They get a few vital kills. Train comes out with the blade, but gets nothing. The Transcendence completely denying him there towards the end. And now EnVision on the way to retaking this, but this should be the point where they should be about to win, and yet delays coming out. So we'll see how long LG Evil can keep this up.
And shouldn't be that much longer. They just gets flipped back over. There's only 2 even near the point, and then Coffee's just going to go to the back line and smack him around. Coffee had himself a great stage there. And you always need that Winston on your team if you're going to run dive. They've got the DPS to do it. And he was just chasing people down one by one, a little bit segmented off towards the end, which just kind of happens when you're trying to stall out on the point. And EnVision not giving up on Lijiang Tower just yet.
No, not just yet. Able to take one away from what historically has been one of LG Evil's stronger stages. LG Evil, there was a point where they loved close quarters combat, but doesn't quite work out for them as well that time around. And again, we have the contrast. Fair Mercy coming out here from EnVision Hex, and a more ground and pound Genji comp coming out from LG Evil.
You used to never see Pharmacy on this stage, really, until teams figured out that they didn't have to fight in the courtyard, because fighting in the courtyard for a Pharmacy is just a death sentence. With a 76 or a McCree out there, you're sitting duck. But now they figured out that if you rotate around to the outside of the point, it actually works really well for the leverage. However, as I say that, is the only time in the last month I've seen the Pharmacy try to come out through the courtyard. Thanks, guys.
Yep, nothing like doing some analysis and historical precedent and then having the players prove you wrong. But this time around, Sandy is going around the outside after opening courtyard. And he's finding his way to the prize. Zenyatta caught out. A beautiful rotation by Sandy, going to take him down with the aid of Coffee. Still 5 versus 5 here on the point as McGravy is demeched, and it's going to come down to this, the ball on the center, and so far it is going the way of LG Evil. We're Train just looking for a last little bit of cleanup kills here, and this should be a first take for LG Evil, and it is.
And Jake with the cleanup there late. I mean, we talk about how LG Evil is historically good at control maps, but control is actually EnVision's best type as well. I mean, best type at about 48% win percentage. But at the top of that list is Lijiang Tower. They're 9 and 6 at it. It's probably their best stage as well.
Jake was really far deep there looking for the pulse bomb, is able to get away with his life. Still holding on to it here, of course, as this is one of the better areas for a pulse bomb a Tracer can find. Dives in deep, gets the stick onto Lucio, and Lucio brings it to Jaru! A present that you don't want from your teammate, delivered courtesy of Jake. And that will end this push pretty abruptly.
Jake has games where he's very, very quiet, and then he has games where he's the only one in the kill feed, so I'd never really count him out of fights, even if he's being very quiet for this team, and we've seen Tracers just do yeoman's work, where it's not really credited, but they're doing all the damage and distraction they need.
One thing I find interesting about the positioning here is that Sadie is just sitting here to the back, plenty of poke in, even as his team is regrouping, but here comes Train. Blade is out, and Train not quite able to find the immediate targets he wants. Does help in the support onto Winston, but that's going to be it. Still, though, it's a good start from LG Evil, up a player. They're going to drop the Transcendence to solidify this just a little bit more, as EnVision is getting beaten bloody on the back lines, and that barrage still not really working out Sadie's way.
Well, Super dies after he launches his self-destruct, but it was totally worth. And I'm trying to just understand the switches that happen for LG Evil. Maybe they just prioritize having their best tank be a Diva rather than a Winston. And maybe they've just worked on this, because Super's Diva has actually been pretty solid this game.
Super is a great tank player, period. It's not really surprising that he would come in and have a good performance in Diva. It's a strange setup for how they've usually run. And this time around, as EnVision comes in, Jaru wins the one-on-one versus Jake, and this gives EnVision with a 6v5 setup going in here. And let's see if Jaru can do more. Drops the pulse bomb, does not connect here early on. Still drawing the attention of the supports to the back, while his front line comes in from the other direction. Then Jake swiftly gets revenge this time around, and this fight's still very much in question.
Well, Super and Vol now both out of this fight, so that is a lot of area control that they will have to surrender, and because of that, it's a rather easy take for EnVision when both tanks die like that early on. And they're going to have a resurrection too, so the next fight has to really focus on taking down Phozix, who has found himself out of position a couple times, so he hasn't been the most elusive of Mercies.
Jake right now is on an excellent adventure, Hex, where he is looking to do his one-man army routine. Very much split from his team, holding on to that pulse bomb, lobs it into the back, just a little bit shy of hitting onto Fire, but still in hot pursuit. Fire has to deal with this Jake problem here. Meanwhile, LG Evil is coming in from the opposite side, and they isolate out Coffee, so double pressure coming in, and it's worked out okay here for LG Evil as they retake the point, and this Dragon Blade from Train might be what they need to finish it out as he dives right in.
Transcend comes in, it's going to keep everyone nice and alive. The DPS love living in the light of Zenyatta. Kha'Zix has to try to get back in. He post-resurrection, unable to do so. And DPS on the ground of LG Evil simply cleaning up. And they will take
LG Evil taking it 3-1 over EnVision to start out the series, but again, perhaps not to the same degree as CLG versus Immortals just a moment ago, but it's not the worst showing for EnVision, but LG Evil seemed to gain strength as the match went on.
They seem to pick it up. It's something what we saw with Immortals too, that you just generally need a couple warm-ups here. This is Vol on the Winston of all things, and maybe this is his home hero. I know you and I have had conversations about LG Evil for a long time about where does Vol fit in on this squad? Can he run this? Can he run that? He seems to be the one that they've tried.
Nonetheless.
Well, defensively, it does appear that they want to try the Sombra defense, which is totally fine. Now, I wonder how good Rob is on the Sombra. That's been like the big breaker for a lot of these North American teams, is can your support actually flip over onto the Sombra? And some teams have done better than others on it.
Well, Sombra has been the big question for teams, where a lot of teams will run a Sombra, not a lot of teams will run a good Sombra, so it is a test for Rob 420, who's usually more in the back, does more tunnel visioning on his tanks and keeps them up and alive. He's sort of a support that works well with his tanks directly, so putting him in Sombra, it's a completely different paradigm.
Alright, so this is what they want to run. See if Mega is taken into left room. Yep, both tanks sitting in there, so they're going to play around pack. Now, the last time we saw this, I thought the defense got too aggressive. Just play around your pack room, get your Sombra, the ult. You see already at 75%, 80%, 100% round 420 with EMP ready, but Vol falls.
Well, the big part here was Jake on a chase into the backline, and finally they chased them into a corner. Jake funneling everyone into a room of death. I'm gonna use Jake to invite people to my parties from here on out.
Yeah, your parties always sound just terrifying, and I've been to some weird stuff, man, so that says a lot. Though the next fight, they should be able to get most people back, because Jake did fall, but he's Tracer, should be able to get back. Wow, that is a really early kill on his super. Can't really have that happen. Rob has the EMP, but they want to be at full strength when they use it.
EMP is something where if you use it in a low number situation, it can very much backfire because you don't have the fall through there. Rob 420 here on the top, decloaked, has the EMP. This isn't quite the ideal EMP setup in the beginning, but he drops it anyways, and does LG Evil have the follow through? It's hard to say. Jake wasn't even near the EMP ground zero. He was into the back looking for support, so it's not really the best fall through on an EMP. And yet, LG Evil's still brawling in around the point, and they're stopping the payload from moving at the very least.
Yeah, I guess you can call it stall out, but still not that great. They lose everyone trying to get into that fight. We have yet to see a defense really work on Route 66 just yet, outside of hero plays from individual DPS. They should have one more go at this to come back in, but now they're not going to have the pack control they need to charge up that EMP. It'll be interesting to see what they try to do with this Sombra. Maybe start it off with super over the top, maybe Train can clean up.
Well, Train does have the Dragon Blade, and there's not too much to ruin his day here, so it will be on Train. He's looking for the supports in the backline, and here he goes. The Blade is out, diving in, looking for anyone, has to dodge in the beginning, and ends up just falling. Not the Dragon Blade he needed at all. A good reaction from EnVision to take that fight a little bit more in close quarters, and this should give them the first point.
It's been all EnVision in the kill feed so far. They take out everything, and now you should maybe see a switch from Rob. I don't know. It seems very difficult to run the Sombra on this second point. The biggest pack is in an odd position for the defense. Maybe they can play around it.
Well, one thing that could be really tough here for the defense is that they're still clustered in the back, and they could be running into one of our favorite old-timey combos, the Nano Blade. Kha'Zix has a Nano Boost on the ready, and you gotta be thinking he's looking for Jaru here. Jaru will give the call, he'll just dive right in, and this could get tough here in just a moment, as EnVision, they stay near the payload. But the question is, how is Jaru going to run this? Is Kha'Zix now under pressure here in the back? But look at how they're running this. They have the Winston with him, able to buy cleave, but Kha'Zix goes a little bit too far out. Still gets a Nano Boost out, though, and might be too little too late.
Just trying to keep eyes on this Sombra. They're actually hanging out towards the pack that's right by the entrance of the team. Rob finds a couple of low health targets, so now they should be able to post up in this area. around Big Pack, right to the left of the cart is the one I'm talking about.
My shots find
Yeah, that was just a weird fight the way it worked out. I think they thought they'd have more room to set the Nano Blade. Fozix got under too much pressure and actually put himself in a situation where he died because he tried to get the Nano Boost out. And now this has made this fight a lot sloppier. Rob 420, though, comes in with the EMP over the top. LG Evil again, not there with the follow through.
That's tragic.
Jake taking to the skies.
That was a nice EMP. It got nearly everyone, but I don't know if the comms weren't there for his team to follow up, because post-EMP it is still all EnVision, cleaning up. They don't have to use ults, which, I mean, they couldn't have used ults if they wanted to, just got it done on the ground. And yeah, Rob is done with this Sombra. He should be. It's not ready yet. They need to cook this one a little longer.
Yeah, he needs a little bit more time in the hyperbolic time chamber, if nothing else. He came out a little bit earlier. Gotta stay in there for at least a day to get full results. But self-destruct coming in here from Sandy right down the gut. Doesn't get too much here early on. And EnVision just trying to keep control here on the point of this train. Blade is out and Blade is done. Jaru there in the immediate finish. The sound barrier keeping EnVision alive. And this engage, a little bit sloppy from LG Evil, and EnVision more than happy to punish.
Yeah, Jaru gets all the dash use he wants. Jake has done his best to try to even this out. He's gotten a couple of kills, but he can't 1v4 this team despite how good he is. A late Lucio will find himself some quick death, and they should be able to grab this second checkpoint.
Quick death. I love that phrase. It's not just a quick death, or a quick death, just quick death is what he ran into there.
Well, it's trademarked, I think, probably.
I wouldn't doubt it. But defensive LG Evil still with plenty of time to defend here, and not in the good way. They have to find a way to hold for one or two more pushes, and meanwhile, for EnVision, Jaru holding on to the blade. A little bit of relief there as Rob gets a free kill on McGravy, and that's going to let LG Evil go a little bit deeper in. They just have to be careful not to go too deep, because heck, we've seen teams get punished for doing that, particularly in this area of Route 66.
Yeah, it seems teams prefer to fight out front here before it becomes the long hallway push that you see oftentimes from both teams. Jaru's still getting into the back line, able to take down Rob in this fight.
That was a beautiful chase down. He noticed that Rob was a little bit out of the way, and he immediately dove in on the opportunity, got the reflex kill, and still has a blade here when this barrier goes away. The barrier has faded, and here comes the blade. Jaru moving in, gets one so far, looking for more, cleaning up the payload. Jaru has been making things happen here for EnVision. This push entirely has his name on it.
Yeah, the standout player for Toronto eSports, and they were able to snag him away. I don't know how you let a player like that go. He was one of the best Genjis overall in the tournament, which says a ton about him, and a great pickup for EnVision allows them to keep pushing this cart. 2 minutes remain.
2 minutes remain, and this is where Super might have something to say about this here. Can send the self-destruct sky high, does just that. Over the top of the truck, not able to get what he's looking for. Jaru is right there, no remecking this time around. And Jaru looking for more, but it's going to be Train. Dragon Blade out, gets a quick kill, but that's going to be it. McGravy there on the punish as the pressure continuing on here for EnVision, keeping LG Evil on the back foot. They're still able to delay a little bit here by virtue of the Primal Rage, but EnVision doesn't seem to have any mode of stopping here, Hex. They're still going in.
Yeah, they're definitely still going in. They get a Primal Rage of their own to keep people back near spawn, and now the reinforcements have come in. The important thing is, while this still went on, they didn't lose anyone, although Coffee will eventually go down. He's the reason that they're still in this fight to begin with, but now it might be time to signal retreat. Well, they get a couple kills that might give them the false confidence to push in, and they need to get out and reset.
No, they absolutely have to get on reset after that. That was a case where LG Evil was able to start turning that in their favor, and then when you have the respawn advantage, it quickly goes from bad to worse. So despite the momentum that EnVision had, they are now down to their final minute here, Hex, but on the upside, they have a Dragon Blade on deck, and there's not going to be a lot to get in its way.
No, that would be the one saving grace for them, and I mean, I wouldn't want it in anyone else's hands except Jaru's here. He's shown that he can have giant hero plays, although now getting tickled down very early, and a little miscommunication as Coffee was in there alone. Jaru had to get out, and now they're going to lose Sani too.
They have to back out.
Yep.
Now it comes down to a final push that will take place in overtime, and the situation isn't anywhere near as good for them anymore. That was probably the window, because now what are they going to be going into? Blade, Barrier, Transcendence. All of that because that last fight did not go their way, so now, I mean, it's Nano Blade versus all of that. not impossible to win, but hardly great either.
It's if they don't just boot both of their support ults, they should be able to hold here.
Well, here comes the engage from the defense. Sound Bear is out. Jaro will be going to Nano Blade. Has to dodge the self-destruct, but finally goes in looking for anything and finds a Voss, but that's the only thing going well for them as Super and Train do far more work into the backline of EnVision. They have the Transcendence out to potentially seal this fight, and things are looking very good now for LG Evil.
Nano Blade didn't even come out until they had lost 3, maybe even 4 people. Not the ideal timing that you want, and like I said, on paper, they had everything going for them. It was going to take mistakes on the side of LG Evil for them to be able to get that push through to the end, and LG Evil didn't make mistakes there. And even though Voss died, he got his sound barrier off before then.
0-2.
So now the question is, was it enough for EnVision? We've talked about this before the last time we were on Route 66, but you don't always see teams full complete here, so EnVision's progress is somewhat defensible. LG Evil still gonna have to come out with a good offense of their own, but you do like being in the situation where your fate is in your own hands. All they have to do is bring the payload to the end, and that will be the map.
Right. We've seen this on many escort maps, though. Just the way escort maps are designed, the dive offense is always going to have a pretty big advantage, because these maps are designed with flanker routes in mind, which already gives the offense the advantage. It reminds me a little of Gibraltar, where teams are just getting kind of rolled now until it kind of chokes down a little, and that's what Route 66 has been here lately.
Well, looking at Route 66 as the defense comes out here from the side of EnVision, they're not going to be changing a whole lot up here, Hex, where they will be going with a more standard dive defense. Don't really think we're going to be seeing too much of a wild card from the offense of LG Evil here either, where LG Evil, of course, they are working on solidifying with these role swaps, which so far, I mean, it's been okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't mind seeing the Widow to open this up. Of course, Avast is just checking the train again with Sonic Arrow. Defensively, though, looks like they're just going standard dive here. Not even a Sombra on their side, but Sombra in North America has been somewhat underwhelming. I mean, there's regions that run it better.
Well, the thing about Sombra, it's not just a hero where you're just like, okay, throw our most talented person on it and we're going to be fine, like you can for other new heroes when they come out. Sombra has a unique playstyle, and even though she's very much meta and arguably the optimal way to play certain points, if you don't have a good Sombra player, running a bad Sombra is definitely worse than running no Sombra, so not going to be seeing a Sombra in play to start things out here for either team.
All right, we do have a switch up here. Jake is one of the guys who will play everything and anything, so we have him on the Reaper. You don't see a ton of Reaper on this point because it's pretty wide open, some escape paths, but sure, I'm fine with seeing Reaper in any situation. Some new blood here.
Seeing Reaper is great, and the key about this composition is that it makes LG Evil really tanky up the gut, where you don't want to immediately deep dive into them because Jake's going to be there at the punish, and so far it's working out as Super does some of the heavy lifting. There is some trade-outs here, but as much as McGravy wants to do into the backline right now, how much does it matter when the defensive members that died are going to take a while to get back? And in fact, McGravy has to get out before he gets pincered from both ends.
Yeah, he almost got caught out there, able to find his Lucio in the back, but now that's going to be kind of a scattered push here. They try to regroup here on defense. They're going to rotate around an interesting side, but they're giving up so much progress.
They're rotating really far around, and you take a look at Jaro coming in from the back. This is where you can get really good dash value. Dashing into 3 people at once, almost has a Dragon Blade up, and an early Dragon Blade can be vital to an early defense here. He almost has it, and might just pop it immediately here if the fight isn't going EnVision's way. And yet, the trade-out's still happening, and Jaro is, for now, holding on to it.
Jake's in a little bit of trouble in the corner, waiting for the pack to come up, unable to do it. They will just drop self-destruct onto the payload to try to get more progress. They got a bunch of free progress already, but if the defense can stabilize, they'll be in a great position. DMECing Super goes a long way towards that, and finally the numbers for the defense are starting to favor them in this next fight, and yeah, LG Evil has to pull it back.
LG Evil fully pushed back here, and the next fight is going to be a tale of support ults and blades, more so for the offense. Rob 420 and Avast much closer to the goal than their counterparts on the other side. So there is, I think, a bit of a window here for LG Evil if they play this right, but this one almost certainly going to come down to execution.
I don't think that I'm in love with the Reaper there. It didn't seem like it did a whole lot. He was getting some push, but then once his team started getting dove upon and segmented, Reaper all alone out there against nimble DPS is a very difficult situation to be in, and the dive goes into the backline. Jake and Rob out of this fight already.
That's a nice dive coming in from the flankers of EnVision, and it's effective. It's McGravy and Jaro teaming up to the back, no Dragon Blade required, very little investment, and it just kneecaps this push before it can even begin for LG Evil. So they read the offense pretty well, and this is a case for LG Evil. If they commit to a dive, they have to go in together. You can't leave your backline that exposed.
No, not at all. And look at these ultimates already up for EnVision. It's going to be an ultimate fest, 6-4, favoring EnVision. They've got everything. Which they've won these last couple fights just purely based on positioning, really.
They have, and now this is going to be an ultimate showdown decided, and who knows how that's going to work out. But you do see LG Evil leading the way with Volt to the back. Train, under pressure, can't blade immediately, gets a sound barrier late, but Jake is already out of this fight, so LG Evil down in power early on, and they might just decide to let this one go.
And they should. This one's over. They can't continue on this path. A couple of late chases, get some kills there. McGravy goes down, but losing your Tracer is fine in the chase there. What I've really liked so far seeing out of EnVision is how Jaro and McGravy are working well together. It's so important to be able to support your other DPS too, how supports have to help supports and all of that, but when Jaro gets himself in a rough spot, McGravy is usually there to at least scare the other team away from chasing him.
He is, and the problem here for Train is that he's been holding on to this blade for so long, but he has to find a way of getting in on the person who is not Phozix here. Phozix holding to the back has Transcendence, and if Train just deep dives in, it's going to be bad. He's diving right in, and there's, what do we see? The Transcendence out here immediately. He's still able to pick up fire, but Phozix, able to mitigate the bulk of that blade early on, fighting Jake in the back, will end up falling.
Well, both supports down for EnVision, so they have to be very careful, but a nice self-destruct over the top is going to de-mech them. Now it is just an outright bar brawl down here on the cart, 3v3, as this is the last decent push for LG Evil, but taken out, 2 kills. EnVision might have just full held.
EnVision is looking like they full held. Overtime sticking down. The soldier is not going to be able to hit the payload in time, and LG Evil not able to get through first here, and certainly an offense that saw them swapping to some things that they don't always run, and as much as I hate to say it, it does kind of feel entirely immediately goes down, but is healed up all the same, as this defense from EnVision is holding relatively far up. A lot of times you'll see defense back out at this point, but no, EnVision, they're doubling down here, even as Sadie gets fire, but oh no, speaking of fire, fire is under fire here in the back. The dive going from it, yet he's able to live. Able to get right to the backline, and EnVision gets there just in the nick of time to keep their supports alive.
Yeah, nice job there. McGravy connects with a Helix rocket onto Jake, who is dancing around on the Tracer, and they get all of the kills. Defense looking in good position here. What's notable, though, is that even though Super went down, he did do enough to build up his ultimate already. Wait, never mind. I'm sorry. That was Baby Diva. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, I was going to say...
I was like, that can't be right. I mean, how did Super do the match him? I'm sorry. I'm clearly suffering.
He's gone back into his mech, and that's what really matters. Also, Jake goes on a deep dive adventure, gets absolutely nothing. Jaro checking him in his place, and this defense for EnVision has LG Evil somewhat mystified so far here, Hex.
Right. Well, clearly I'm just suffering from heat stroke. That's the excuse I'm going to use right now. So if I stop talking, someone please call an ambulance. Well, anyway, Jaro and McGravy do have their ultimates, and McGravy popped the ult very low and got deflected right back into his face.
Yep, Genji does not have Tactical Visor. That is in fact a deflected Tactical Visor, and it works out well for LG Evil as they pierce right on through this time around. That is going to be a bounty of kills for LG Evil. And now, Hex, here's a question, is how aggressively does the defense dive back into this? Because it's in the sort of in-between zone. Do you go for this or not? And it's looking like, no, they don't.
Yeah, they were just way too far away, because even if you try to get in there, there's a very strong possibility that you're not even able to delay the cart, and then you're just giving bodies and positioning up. And holding high ground on the second is so important in Dorado.
And I respect this decision coming out here from EnVision, where I think if they tried to dive in, it wouldn't have been a great look. Now they can hold up on top, and it works out. Jaro with the immediate bomb onto Vost. Train, it's a late blade, trying to make this a little bit more even, and it works. He gets 2 in the beginning, and this is even things out more for LG Evil, where respawns can come in and maybe they can get some progress, but it is very much a brawl still here on the payload.
Yeah, as they do trade out a little back and forth. Defense going very deep. They have to be careful not to really lose anyone here. And they end up getting Sani demeched, which is not ideal. and they're just too late to get out, and they get punished by the offense. Now it's going to be difficult for them to get the right positioning back.
Charu, one of the last people alive there, tasting the pistol whip of Diva towards the very end. Super should be back into his mech shortly, so that's a case where EnVision did buy some degree of time, but they give up positioning and really potentially one fight away from losing second. So next fight is going to have to be a little bit better for them here, and they do have a window where they can transcendence in and potentially get the better of LG Evil depending on how the barrier is used.
Well, they're going to rotate around through the bank here. They've gotten out of position, but they're trying to really take back this initial high ground. And they're able to take down Jake early, who was going for the pulse bomb, and now they give up the high ground to try to finish out this fight. They get 2 very early kills and have completely cut in half LG Evil. And after cutting them in half, they will chase down the remainder of these kills. It was a really nice rotation. Really nice.
Well, the key there is that they cut out Jake early on, where Jake has been really deep diving this round, perhaps more so than he should, and EnVision has been very good at catching him out early on, and LG Evil's had to take more 5v6s than I think they would have liked here. And now, you want to talk about the tables turning, this defense is fully charged up here, Hex, for the next fight.
Yeah, they've done such a great job of their economy so far, and I really just like seeing it throughout the day, right? We've seen teams just get better at this, and it used to be a big issue with some of the teams in the region where they just weren't really paying attention to the importance of having your ults up for the next fight, and both of these teams have been banking.
I'm going to note one thing here. EnVision's taking this fight really far up while they have 3 members still in the back. This is risky. If anyone dies while they're poking that far up, it's a big loss. But so far, they're able to stay alive. They supplement with the sound barrier, and McGravy had Tactical Visor on the mind, but might not even need it here as he rolls that back. However, now he has Winston in his face. Not necessarily want to be a soldier. Almost no way out here for McGravy as he is not able to get to that health back.
Yeah, they get a couple kills, and that is the time to flip the switch and go as they pop. They layered both of those support ultimates on top of each other, which isn't ideal, to say the least.
No, and the other problem there is that Train was already out of the fight early. He was picked off in the beginning. He wasn't able to combo a blade with either of those support ultimates, so the timing for some of this is a little bit tougher for LG Evil. They did not have the follow through there that they thought they might have had. And now, I mean, the question is for Train, does he go for the raw blade here or wait for the reset? And it's looking like it's going to be waiting for the reset.
Well, they can wait for the reset because they really only have one more good fight in it where both DPS are going to have their ultimates. We're below 90 seconds now, only over a minute, and Dorado pushes take a while to set up. It's a long map, takes a tough time to get in position, and now they have to decide, are they going to go right up the gut or are they going to try around the right side? They will do a little bit of both and put Super on the card as a distraction.
Yeah, they have Super up the gut, the rest of them coming around their right, and now they just immediately dive in. The blade is out from Train, but immediately answered by the Transcendence, so ult for ult going on there, and meanwhile you have McGravy to the back, Tac Visor out, cutting through the back line, and that just works out very beautifully there for EnVision.
The silver lining is they died really quick, and that fight was completely one-sided. And the silver lining meaning that now they at least have one more push that they can go in on, and they burned a couple ultimates out. So it's going to be some pretty vanilla Overwatch as we go through the next one. And the closest ones actually are going to be Super and Saney, so a little Diva self-destructs could really decide this next fight as they fight each other.
And this is not a bad point here for self-destruct in terms of just clearing off the high ground, but Super gets demech'd before he can self-destruct. The self-destruct has to go into payload alone, so he's not going to get that initiation. He just has to use it for a second life. Meanwhile, speaking of self-destruct, Saney, self-destruct of his own, doesn't quite get what he's looking for immediately, but will get to remech. And this fight, a little bit more brawly than the defense might like here. The defense gets caught out, and LG Evil is slowly starting to get some progress.
Well, in defense of Super, I think he was taking that fight just knowing that he could self-destruct at the very end and at least get a new mech and create some space there that they desperately needed. All the cleanup came in through the side room there, and they will get second point at the last second, but it only gives them an additional 90 seconds.
Well, at least getting through the second is big. Not every offense is guaranteed to get here through third, so this is a big take here for LG Evil, at least in planning their own defense. You don't want to be under that level of pressure. But EnVision certainly with the tools to keep this defense going. But the problem is, Phozix is really far out, gets taken down early on, and EnVision, I wonder if they're going a little bit too deep here, Hex, given the defensive advantages they'd have if they just held a little bit further back.
Yeah, I completely agree, and both tanks now out of this for EnVision. They lost Saney and Coffee there as they tried to get in early, and that is never a good sign to lose both of anything when you're running is 2-2-2 composition. They're going to have to retreat. However, the good thing is they're at least able to get up towards the high ground. They can't really hold it, though, without either of their tanks. They're waiting.
Well, they're very split out here. The dive tanks on one side, the pulse bomb comes in, Jake connects! They're just right there to start out this fight. And now Train has a Dragon Blade he can use to finish this fight if he even deems it necessary. Now, if they win this decisively, he can just save this for final stage cleanup, which does look like the way we are heading right now. This is very tough for the defense.
Yeah, meanwhile, all the push comes in. They will try to break it down. Blade is out. He finds McGravy in the back line. Self-destruct on the cart, trying to clear space out. Does not find anything.
Start coming in towards the very end, and LG Evil getting bopped around. The Sound Barrier Primal Rage buying some good time here for EnVision, and if Charu's just able to get a little bit more towards the back, this might be enough to hold on.
They have to burn Transcendence out here. It does not really result in the aggressive kind of kills you want, but that is Jaru, as you mentioned, getting a little bit more. We're in overtime. Jaru on the cleanup. Desperation Transcend comes in.
Desperation indeed, as EnVision is able to reestablish a 6 on this point. Time starting to tick down here, and EnVision in a very good position to hold, although it's still not the worst for LG Evil, given that they were almost held on second, and with little time remaining, got the payload almost to the very end. So, again, we sort of had the situation on the last map. Now we'll see what EnVision can do on their offense if they're able to punch us in fully.
One of the minigames to look at if they run similar compositions is watching Sani and Super go at it. It's like they think they're in the MechWarrior 2 minigame, because they've just gone at it as divas rarely do against each other. And I think it's been interesting between those two. The self-destructs haven't quite been there. It's like they're very focused on dealing with the other diva first. I don't know, is Diva a counter to herself?
Is Diva the counter to herself? Maybe. That's what people have been saying about Doomfist. Is Doomfist the counter to Doomfist?
I mean, I guess it makes kind of sense, but I don't know. Those mirror matches are never really fun to play. Alright, well, it's pretty good for Dorado, because Dorado it's always been a brutal map to close out all the way. There were a lot of times, though, that I think EnVision could have waited and gotten themselves better positioned, because Defender's advantage on Dorado is pretty strong. On first, second, and third, it's one of the more defensive-oriented maps, and I think there are too many times where they gave up that positioning.
Yeah, it is interesting here, too. I mean, the other thing is that teams haven't had as much experience on Dorado recently, period, so there is sort of this part in Overwatch where you have a tournament that is running for a while where a map isn't in the pool, you don't see it as often, and then you go to another tournament where suddenly it is something that you're seeing all the time. So seeing teams adapt in the interim is rather interesting.
Right, well, defensively, looks like Pure Dive coming out from EnVision eSports. Offensively, so far, looks like Pure Dive coming out from LG Evil here. As we are in,
it is the variety we have come to expect right now,
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, yeah. Maybe Doomfist will change it. People say he's going to be included in the dive. People say he's going to be the answer to the dive. I really just wait judgment until I see it.
Can we have some faith in the devs here? The part where in the intro video he's actually just beating the crap out of the 3 main dive heroes. So maybe that is the side hex. You never know.
Well,
or it's just cathartic, where it's just like, look, these heroes have been doing well. Let's watch the new hero just beat them.
A very aggressive defense as they've got rooftop control on both of these roofs, and now the dive comes into the segmented part on the back end. They're only able to get Rob out of that, and they had to trade 2 heroes for it, or 1.5 heroes anyway, as Sandy was demacked.
Big part there is Jake just able to get the targets he wants, unfettered aggression onto the supports in the backline, gets his men when the smoke has settled, and overall, LG Evil coming out strong on this first defense, but they are pushed back a bit, so they don't try and just hold out here. Aside from Jake, who's still very much in the back.
Yeah, absolutely, and they get some decent push here, as at least they've evicted them from first rooftop, so the fight didn't go too badly for the defense, and now they're going to be in an area where they can set up again. So as long as your first very aggressive defense doesn't go terribly, you're always in a position to hold where you generally used to hold anyway.
Look at this dive going into the backline, the combination between Vol and Jake mercilessly going after the supports, and there just wasn't the answer for it. LG Evil's backline was able to stay alive, EnVision's backline cut down by that engage coming in, so this is a case where the supports for EnVision right now are not quite getting the help that they might otherwise like.
Yeah, there's been some counter dive, and once the dive happens, if you do dive with both of your tanks, then it leaves your backline so exposed, and there's only so much a Lucio can do to peel for a Zenyatta, and vice versa. Right now, they're going to try to find an opening here. They're going to have a lot to work with on both sides of things, so largely this is about ultimate execution.
It is on ultimate execution. I'd say that both in positioning and ults available, there's an edge here to LG Evil. The dive is coming in, but look at Train right to the backline. The support's in his point of view, going for both, and both are down. Train and Jake just immediately cutting away the healing support of EnVision, and they were really a mile away from their team there, Hex. There was no even idea of helping their supports. Train and Jake just probably high-fived each other because of how easy that was.
Well, the self-destruct does affect that somewhat. It cuts the team in half, but it's not really been only when self-destruct comes out. Both their tanks are going in, and it might be time to leave one behind. Leave one at home to try to keep your supports alive. I would say that you leave the Diva back there just so that you can put them in the Matrix and try to let them frag out and save their own lives. But they've been going in with both tanks every time, and that's just a recipe for disaster for your supports.
Well, the one upside here, if nothing else, is that they will have a significant ult advantage going into the next fight. Really, the main thing Jaro has to be aware of is not throwing his blade into the Transcendence, but other than that, a lot of tools here for EnVision, as this is really going to be their last attempt here at Courtyard, at least with sufficient firepower behind it. So, right now, the early fight is engaged. Jaro going to the back, but again, the backline support's getting wrecked by EnVision. Again, it forces out the Transcendence, fire is down, and Jaro still looking for the right way of dropping the blade, but this time, the Transcendence for the defense is a little bit late. It's not in time to save Train and Super, so slightly better for EnVision nonetheless.
This should be fine because now Fire's back in the mix and he got killed before his sound barrier, so should they so need it, he will be able to drop that at any given time, but they do not need it, able to clean up the last remainder of it. The question now, is LG Evil in position to come back into this, or do they want to get positioning? They're looking to come back in right now. Super and Train going to be the ones to try to stall. Can they get there in time? Barely.
Well, they do get there in time. Vol right now is going to be coming in shortly as well, but here's the real question. Where is Jaro right now? This is where it's close quarters, tight areas, and a blade is out. Gets one immediately, looking for more, dashing right through Vol there, and Vol doesn't even activate the Primal Rage. This one is over, and EnVision will continue forward into second.
Might have been a quasi-junk rush there. They kind of baited out a few ults at the very least, able to get some of those out. And they had such a decent defense that they might have just wanted to burn more clock. A little over 2 minutes left, just entering second point now for EnVision. And the small ultimate advantage now in favor of LG Evil. Even though they had to give up positioning, they should be able to get back up here with both tanks, yeah.
Well, yeah, this is going to take place on the high ground for sure, and you take a look at Coffee just here to the top, decides he doesn't want any part of it. Meanwhile, LG Evil deep diving in, Vol really deep with Jake into the backline, Train a little bit further out, but you see Train and Jake into the back, and Jake comes back into the main fight, but runs afoul of Coffee, so not quite the engage that LG Evil was looking for here, at least in the very beginning.
Jake double blinked into two tanks while he had Discord on him. I don't know what he thought was going to happen, but that's the expected result there. Self-destruct clears some people off of the cart as Rob begins to frag out a little bit for his team. It's still 4v3 right now. Skirmishes happening all over the place. Rob just chilling on the high ground as Zen has no one even harassing him.
LG Evil able to stop this push right where it stands finally. It was a little bit rough in the beginning, but does work out. EnVision finding their wings cut at least a little bit, and there's still options here for the LG Evil side for the next defense where they can open with Transcendence, follow through with the Dragon Blade. A lot of ways of ruining the day of the offense, but offense with plenty of tools as well, so it very well could be an ultimate showdown.
EnVision's strategy seems to just be stacking alts. The last couple times they've fought, they've gone in with 6 alts. Now maybe they don't use all of them, but they'd like to have everything at their disposal.
Self-destruct coming in, LG Evil taking cover indoors. And Train, there's the barrier. Where is the blade? Still holding on to it here. Doesn't really have the targets he wants, and he gets to hold on to it for even longer.
Barrier only got a couple, but it's nice for Jake, who's just been a terror in the backline. Takes down Fozix there. That means their Transcend will be unhindered as they try to brawl it out right here. A blade comes in from Jaru late, finds a fast early.
Both blades coming out for both Genjis here, and Train not getting much at all with his. He had to wait because he didn't want to throw in his support ultimate, but by the time he used it, it wasn't quite as ideal. Meanwhile, though, it's Jake into the back, working the outskirts on the Tracer and able to bring that fight right back in. So messy on both sides to some extent, but LG Evil holding firm, and we're down to our final 10 seconds. It is now up to EnVision to touch his payload and keep it moving no matter what.
Well, we're down into overtime, as you mentioned, and they've got to keep bodies on this, but Jake takes down fires. Usually, Zenyatta's pretty good at stalling, forces out the Transcend so that they can stay near the cart, but unable to get aggressive within that Transcend as they are tethered to that cart.
Oh, and Jake was so close to grabbing Fozix immediately. Fozix pulls it right back, and EnVision, though they are in overtime, they are still applying great amounts of pressure to this payload, and there's a possibility they can keep this going forward. LG Evil, they don't have a lot of resources to throw back into this, and you know one thing that's great when people have to desperately touch a payload here, Hex? Self-destruct.
Self-destruct's pretty solid there, so Saini's going to keep it in his back pocket should he need it. He'll just drop it in front of the card, or right on top of it, actually. And they're trying to get in here. Some delay comes out as Jake is still alive. Back here, they've got 3 out on the card.
Oh, eating a Helix rocket in the skies, 2 kills. But speaking of self-destruct, Super, his self-destruct hits pay dirt here for LG Evil. Saini still holding on to his, potentially just wanting to save it for later, but overall, it's better positioning on the card here for EnVision. More people on the payload, and it is looking like they might just push this in here in overtime.
But I guess the Transcend is going to keep maybe Vol alive. He dies to a self-destruct. It's a Transcend you might want to save. They are really coming back onto this point, thinking they can bring it back, but they cannot. Another 90 seconds added to the clock.
The reason why they got that aggressive there, though, Hex, is that when overtime's been in progress for that long, it is really easy to get people off the payload for a second and get the victory right then and there. So I don't necessarily begrudge that, but now they have to pay the consequences of going in there and having it not work out, which is that they have to defend for another minute, and EnVision does have some momentum behind them. They don't have as much ult-wise, but they will soon.
Fozix was momentarily on the Tracer. That was just getting back to the card. He switches back over to the Zenyatta, trying to hold a little bit of high ground. Where's the tank presence for LG Evil? It is actually down on the cart while everyone else sits back.
Jake was trying to come in on the flank, has to rewind out of there in a hurry. EnVision still applying pressure. Coffee, Primal Rage into the back, keeping things bopped and booped out of his way, but this payload is not moving a whole lot right now as LG Evil is successfully stalling this out pretty heavily. But now that Vol has gone down, this has opened the path here for EnVision somewhat as they pick up 2 and keep it moving forward.
Yeah, all the tanks out of this fight now, and the stall will continue to come in for LG Evil in the form of just charging at the cart, which I think is smart, because if those heroes that they had alive were trying to retreat, especially Rob, they would just get picked out later, and that would be a problem, as Rob needs to be alive with his team to charge. He's 92% super near self-destruct, so they've got ults to work with to try to hold this.
Well, McGravy is under assault in the back. They're immediately going on. It's Vol and Train sending him away, and Train pops the blade just to get in on him early. McGravy, though, still alive, into the back, able to shake that in the beginning. Jaru doing more into the backline himself, and here comes the attack visor from McGravy. He shook the pressure, now he's coming back in, and let's see if it's enough. Finds Jake, draws the attention of the Winston, pulling it back, and meanwhile the payload is still moving forward, and they get it! In the last moments, they get it, and EnVision takes the map.
Final score.
A little bit surprising there, and very close. I don't know, it reminds me of our first set. Like, is EnVision playing really well, or is LG Evil playing poorly? And it's probably a little bit of mix of both. Is
Defined by the hair.
Yeah, not as much as MacGruber. You ever see MacGruber?
No.
Oh, you need to see MacGruber. You'll love it. See, I took the step to try to close our gap between what we've seen. I watched 3 minutes of Cowboy Bebop yesterday. So totally
3 whole minutes.
Totally.
What stopped you from watching the full episode?
I don't know. I wanted to watch something else. I think I was catching up on him.
Oh my god! It is one of the best anime series of all time.
It was all right.
People
I
will
liked
spam
it.
Ohio for days for that.
I liked the 3 minutes I watched. I'll watch more. I just, you know,
clearly you liked it so much that you just swapped.
baby steps. Baby steps.
Defend objective.
All right. Well, whatever. In any case, this EnVision defense, not a whole lot changing here, Hex.
No, and offensively, though, they're going to be running the Sombra. That's going to be Rob on the Sombra, at least. And this is something we've seen Sombra v Sombra on offensive first, battling over packs. EnVision defense setting up in the top corner there, and they're going to run a little bit long-range hit scan. It's going to be McGravy on it. You know, this is also a team that runs a lot of different people, a lot of different things, because Saini can run the 76 as well.
He definitely can, and Saini right now just holding into the backline. EnVision sort of doing a horseshoe defense in the back, but then they decide to collapse here into the high ground, but it's kind of rough engage. They are certainly stymied by Super's defensive matrix. McGravy has to pull himself out of the fight almost entirely for a while, and not able to finish off Jake. He was so close, yet so far. That could come back to haunt them as the EMP comes out, and LG Evil looks like they've played around this horseshoe defense rather well indeed as they get the kills they're looking for.
Yeah, they get everything that they need right there. And now you see the defense rotating to the Sombra. I really think if you're going to run a Sombra at second, you should be running her on first. And maybe I mean, it couldn't go worse than that already went, but at least you'd have EMP up for the next fight. However, the offensive Sombra didn't really do all that much either, only at 54%, but definitely ahead of Phosix right now.
Well, he had an EMP mid-fight. He already is at 54 after getting that EMP, so... And I'm not sure they need the EMP to finish out the fight, but he did build that rather quickly, and here comes LG Evil, looking for a little bit more. Jake diving in, has the pulse bomb, almost looking at throwing into the spawn door, and the pressure being applied to the spawn from LG Evil right now is immense, as every kill so far going their way.
And I love the entry there to go on the right side. I think it's the smartest place to go. The Blade will come out from Train here, trying to get one. He does get a dash through there, and they are absolutely crushing it. Coffee does have to get his Primal Rage going just to try to stall out, but it has been all LG Evil as they continue to push, zoning out the point, and a late EMP gets punished right away.
Jaru, Desperation Dragon Blade coming out here, but aided by a barrier, gets one, looking for more. Sombra just barely able to get out of the way of that as Jaru finds his life ending on the point. LG Evil still applying momentous amounts of pressure here. Winston thinking he's going to get a health pack. Nope, not happening. It is hacked, and the pressure from LG Evil unrelenting right now as they look to get even more on this point.
Well, they do get a D-Mech at the least. You have to start seeing a little blue in the left side of the kill feed if defense has any hope of holding, and that is another one. They did surrender 2 ticks already. A beautiful pulse bomb will take out a Bask. Stabilization will finally come for EnVision. But do you see what
that was also a little bit of a rough EMP from Rob there towards the end. Like, he did it more in the ditch. A lot of players were down. I think they could have held off on that one for a while. But one thing that's interesting, they're running Phosix on the defensive Sombra. Now he's back to a defensive Ana.
I think part of it is just trying to run the meta and not really being super comfortable with it. I also still think that if you're planning to run Sombra on second, you have to run her on first. Because even on first, you can deny packs. You know they're going to be running oftentimes a Sombra on offense too, and it just puts you in such a bad position to be only 10% on your defensive EMP. You need that EMP early.
Well, you do have a sleep here coming out from Phosix. It's going to delay the offense a little bit. Right now, you can just see LG Evil taking their time and going forward, but they lose Vol immediately. The defense finds an opportunity, gets the early kill, and this is just going to be pushing LG Evil even further back.
Rob had that pack below hacked, but he doesn't have to worry about taking it away from the other Sombra. In fact, he might actually get off the offensive Sombra. At 45% though, he really only needs to get one of these packs. It's just where are they going to play to set up. There is the Mega on the left side of the offensive push, and they can play around that side. We'll see.
Well, we will see. The one thing that is unfortunate for LG Evil is that they did have a much better window there for a moment. Now they're going to have to deal with more ults, defensive Dragon Blade, defensive Sound Barrier on this push. Train still has a blade of his own, but this engage is a little bit rough. They're split out as they open in, but now Train going in on the cornered Winston, but a cornered Animal can be the most dangerous as Coffee Primal rages his way out of there, able to draw a lot of fire on him in this situation. Now let's see if the rest of EnVision can carry through. Jaru is down, so he's not going to be able to blade with the barrier, and yet this is not the worst for EnVision. They've gotten a few key kills, and LG Evil, they double down. They go for the sound barrier, even as others are still alive, and as Jaru comes in from the back, the blade is out, and he goes down. Jake completes the finish off of the EMP, and LG Evil still might be getting this point yet.
Well, that was McGravy who got the EMP, because they're running triple support now. Sombra classified as a support, in my opinion. He did somehow get the EMP, but I don't know how you're running that on defense when the lower pack is already hacked by the offensive Sombra. Interested, they clearly want to run it, but I don't think they really understand exactly how they want to run it. They had no pack control to run defensive Sombra there. The lower pack was hacked offensively. Like, what do you... I don't understand necessarily. And then you're running it as one of your DPS, so essentially you have 3 supports. It's not worked out well for other teams, I'll say that much.
Again, I think especially in the Western scene, you have teams that have Sombra players that have clearly put in a lot of time, and teams that have played around their Sombra for a while, and then teams that have more recently swapped to it because it is meta, and I think you just see a little bit of the roughness around the edges here for some of the Sombra play coming out, and there's no other way of saying it. It's not, again, it's not a hero that you're just like, oh, this is meta now, slot it in. Like you could for other heroes in the game where maybe your McCree player suddenly goes to 76 or vice versa, or suddenly your hit scan goes to Tracer. These are more natural adjustments in swapping anyone to Sombra because Sombra has a unique play style, both in how you play her and how your team plays around her.
I completely agree. So, yeah, rough around the edges is the right way to say it, but, you know, you're not going to get better by not playing her. So, you know, fair enough, time to try it out. Defensively, of course, Rob is going to stay on this Sombra. He wants to see what he can do there. I don't know exactly who the offensive Sombra would be, but I think they're probably going to run the combo. There's a map that you can open up with a Pharah Mercy combo, and you can close out with a Pharah Mercy combo. Good on first, good on last.
Well, and for Pharah, I mean, one thing you've sort of avoided talking about, but you do like watching Sadie play projectile DPS, where it was a case where he has ups and downs, but there's definitely been points in the series, even so far, where he has looked good on the Pharah.
Yeah, Richard Dean Anderson played MacGyver, by the way. Want to give him credit. All right.
Well, yeah,
yeah.
His name is Richard Dean
And
Anderson.
it totally, I knew it was something, three names. Everyone had three names in the 80s. It was weird times. Well, yeah, Sani's, he used to have to play from Europe, but I don't think he's in Europe anymore. I'm not certain on that, but I know he used to play projectile even with that super high ping, so he's had to go through some rough training grounds. They do lose one on the entry, that is McGravy, so probably time to reboot already, which bodes poorly when the other team's running a Sombra. It means there's pretty high likelihood you're going to run into an EMP.
Oh, from downtown, Voss getting domed by a long-range rocket from Sani, and that is going to be helping out EnVision heavily as they come into this next fight. But, as I say that, maybe they don't need a Lucio after all, as they still get 3 kills. EnVision might have overplayed their hand just a bit. Even as Sani gets another great rocket. If I'm Sadie right now, I'm just feeling mad that you have 2 great rockets and very little to show for it right now.
Yeah, that's pretty rough that you do get all of that going. And now they're going to have to push into this EMP that Rob already has up on the defensive Sombra there. And
on to another rocket. Sadie has been the bringer of death right now so far on this Pharah, and this time it might be getting converted into a point take as they're able to get the last few kills they need. But Super, keeping the dream alive, somehow finds 2 on D.Va, and I think Sandy is going to have to do a little bit more work here if EnVision is to take this point.
Trying to just stall out a little bit and let people come back. They've only got 3 on the point defensively, but Jake does take down Sani, who's been the biggest threat for them. We'll find a pulse bomb that's going to force out the self-destruct. Never mind, and they get the 3 kills that they need. Some ults still on the field for LG Evil's defense, and looking solid right now.
EnVision was just not able to capitalize on early pickoffs that they had. They let Super do way too much work towards the end of that fight. You can't have a D.Va be taking out both your Genji and a support at the same time towards the end, and now the potential of a first point hold is becoming much more real as the defense has plenty of options to defend this, and Sani might have to gamble here on a barrage as the offense goes in to the top left from their point of view. Train holding into backline. Phozix, oh no, there's nothing he can do. Just taken down with no way out. LG Evil might be holding here once more.
Well, yeah, they're trying to retreat right now and trying to get out with their lives. The chase is on, however, as they will hunt down Fire towards the end. Jake's still looking for a bit more, but no need. Below 90 seconds now. And a huge bank of ultimates for the side of the defense, including EMP, and then EMP with any one of these can be absolutely devastating. You EMP the team and then you put a Dragon Blade on it, that's rough.
Yeah, the EMP alone here, Rob is really the person of the hour, because if he lands good EMP, this is going to be nearly impossible to actually win. Oh no, what an EMP right into the room! All your abilities are gone, and it's making Vol so happy that he is barraging people against the wall with his monkey fists. Oh my goodness, that was deadly.
Well, if you want to nitpick there at the end, maybe they didn't need to use Dragon Blade as well, which they busted out a little bit late from Train, but I guess you just get the bloodlust going in there. That is a party room for sure. Alright, well, EMP down. Rob trying to build that back up. They are going to have
Hex, I was in the party room. I would not have my party go to that level of death and destruction. I have my limits, my good sir.
Yeah. I don't think you do.
You might be wrong. I might actually be booking Rob 420 right now. But offense, 20 seconds left. Last push on the way, and Jaro goes down immediately. Not able to get free, and Vision now very much in the hot seat as they are not able to make this engage work. The final 8 seconds here, but LG Evil should have this round, and thus they would have the map if they're able to just push off a few more people.
They doubled down with the sound barrier because they had to. Desperation Time will not even capture first point on Anubis. And that was a nice map pick from LG Evil. Clearly they had the better strategy there. I mean, there are some things that obviously EnVision has to work out there. Maybe the switches on the Sombra were interesting enough. I think by the end, maybe they'd gotten the health pack hacked, and it was just difficult because this could change things around, though.
give some time to swap things up here, and this would be a bit of a paradigm change where if the between the two teams we've been seeing a lot of Sani on the Pharah, and hey, I mean Sani and the Pharah, I would not say the Pharah was the problem in that last Anubis attack, but they might be shying away from it this time, looking to isolate the Pharah with the D.Va and let Jaru work his magic on the ground.
Well, the thing is, Sani's also their best D.Va. He's shut down, and he does so much damage on the D.Va. I remember seeing him in Contenders, and he was just crushing people on D.Va. He got the first kill like 3 times on 3 different heroes on Anubis once, like 76 D.Va, and then I think Tracer maybe. So we will see. The combo does come out from LG Evil, and how are they planning on countering this?
Well, we will find out. Jake right now taking to the skies, looking for his targets, and they're using the building as good natural cover here. Jake actually does not have the immediate targets he wants. He's going to have to expose himself to more damage if he wants to get in.
Nice.
And he's just poking around the outside, and while he's looking for targets, they're diving into his team. So Rob 420 out of this fight immediately as McGravy really doing a lot of work for EnVision here in this close quarters combat.
Yeah, Rob just didn't see him. He got behind him, and Rob was floating on the outside. He was just paying attention to the tanks up front, a couple dash resets from Jaru, and that is a very quick first take from EnVision, largely on McGravy, who's had somewhat quiet games today, but when this EnVision team's been at their best is when he's having his best games. I mean, I guess that goes without saying, but we need to see more of them.
Those two things would go hand in hand, Hex, just by virtue. It'd be weird if they weren't.
Well, sure, but what I'm saying is I need to see more out of McGravy, and he's off to a good start.
And this case here, too, is that they set the terms of engagement the right way. Jake wasn't able to get what he was looking for in that early fight, but this time, it's a little bit better. More targets for Jake here early on. He's going to pick up Sani in the beginning as McGravy right now, trying to work the down here. And no, he throws the pulse bomb into the defensive matrix, not going to get what he's looking for immediately. And certainly, LG Evil doing a much better job of controlling space this time around.
Yeah, they do get in. Fozix will be the first to fall here from Jake in the skies. He's also got Barrage ready too, and he will use it right there, and he will,
down he goes.
Well, I mean, that's just how it happened. Yeah, I think he got at least one. He was able to take down the Lucio, and because of that, they will be able to swing this fight back in their favor, but not before they've already yielded 51%.
So LG Evil, a little bit of a rough start early on, but so long as they're able to dictate the terms of engagement outside rather than inside with this Pharah comp, it does seem to be working out for them. And more importantly, they do have the Resurrection up for this next fight, so the question is going to be for EnVision, do they feel like hunting Mercy, and how good are they going to be at it?
It's going to be very important. They will get self-destructed over the top.
He knocked the self-destruct away, but it still hit Rob 420. He was trying to save him. I appreciate the attempt, but not quite enough. So Jake, down his Mercy here early on, and we'll see if LG Evil can turn this away. But no, just immediately blown up.
Jaru with the dash through the sky is now going to have enough to get his blade. Self-destruct zones people out of the point, does not necessarily get the kills, but Jaru only ended up with 1 kill on that blade, but it is enough. That is all they needed. Resurrection comes in late, though.
It's a Resurrection that lets them keep control of the point, at least for now. Maybe this fight is still going to go against them, but there's a lot of members still up here for LG Evil, so we'll see just how effective the stall is. Volvo will give his life in the name of stalling it out, and Jake, up to him right now to come in through the back and make something happen here, but so far, he gets 2, and they're keeping it alive for LG Evil.
Yeah, I'm surprised Jake's live. He's been hunted down by both of the tanks trying to get in there, and he punishes both of them eventually. Will take down both Sani and Coffee, who were trying so hard in the skies to get him. I mean, why are people not running the Soldier 76 anymore against the combo? Is it just because dive is so brutal to those kind of backline DPS dealers?
Part of that is certainly the part where people dive in the 76 a lot, but the other thing too is that I think for a situation like this, teams would rather try and run Pharah v Pharah. Oh no, self-destruct on the top, it's a beauty! Sani picks up 2! That's all the anti-air you need. Who needs to go rob the retirement home anyways, Hex?
What are you...
Oh my goodness! That was beautiful!
Yeah, anti-air has come in the form of D.Va a lot of times, and teams are very used to running it, largely in part by having played Oasis as much as most of these teams have, and a lot of the anti-combo defense or offense comes from the D.Va self-destruct just based on the positioning of the combo. So Sani showing his worth there on the D.Va. 99% though on the side of LG Evil. They only have to really take one more fight. A nice sound barrier is going to be ready for the side of EnVision though.
So EnVision, we'll see how they work with this. They definitely wanted to use a barrier earlier rather than later once people start taking serious damage. And look at this isolation of the enemy D.Va. Super's going to get debacked immediately. Fozix, though, down early to the barrage. Jake working his way to the back, but it's not enough. Jaru is there at the anti-air, and EnVision might have just done enough to put this one in their favor. There will be time for LG to go for a last-moment attack, but certainly going to be difficult the way that EnVision has been playing.
Well, they've got about 10 seconds. I imagine they're going to try to taxi zoom everyone in and sound barrier right off the bat and try to open this fight. Give Rob enough time to get his resurrection up as well. They will touch the point again.
Okay, so Jaru coming in, Dragon Blade out. Oh my goodness!
Blade gets shut, or the barrier gets shut down by McGravy. Avasta's breaking it down. Rob also taken out, holding his ultimate. 2 support ultimates are back in spawn.
Support ultimates not in play right now early on. This is tough for LG Evil, and yet still keeping this in contention right now is Train getting the work done on the back, and now the support ultimates are coming in. Hex, Train able to deep dive in, and LG Evil might just be flipping this one back yet.
LG Evil back on the point. Rob still has his resurrection too, so they're going to have to kill this team twice unless they can find Rob. That's a nice start. They're taking Super out, and they're starting to flip this back. Rob down again with the switch from Jaru onto 76.
Well, he finally came back in. They robbed the old folks home at the very end, and it's enough, as EnVision will be flipping this right back.
How dare you insult a soldier of Jack Morrison's caliber?
I'm not insulting him. It's a statement of fact. He's old. He has super soldier serum in him, but he's old.
I think that gray is a noble look. He might be 30. I've seen people go gray at 30.
That is possible.
Yeah, he's just,
so it's a case where he's actually not aging at all. He's just had a case of his hairline has gone away from him and he's gone gray at the same time.
Hey, it happens.
If he just were able to protect his lock of hair, it'd be fine.
Just because we're blessed and beautiful doesn't mean everyone else is. Haha.
Yes, blessed and beautiful.
Let's see chat react to
you
that
know
one.
what? I will grudgingly accept that for the absolute lie that it is. But EnVision, they're running the Widow here. Your hopes and prayers have been answered as Sadie, proving to be flexing all around, comes in on the Widowmaker, and we'll see if he's able to make it work right now, just looking for these early shots.
Widow and 2 Sombras who are fighting over packs. Flicks onto Jake. That's going to be one of the people who's going to try to take him out anyway, and now he moves up and tries to get aggressive in it.
This is great so far from Sadie. Found Jake on the flank, takes him out immediately, and just one pick is all it needs to change the scope of the fight, as EnVision very easily takes first control here on the Ruins.
And I think that allowed them to push him far enough away that Fozix was able to get the Mega on the right side, which is going to be so important for this Sombra play. He's got the one back at home. Yeah, he's got the one on the right side too. Those are so important. EMP comes out though from the other side.
The EMP is out, but it's to a very damaged team so far. LG Evil has to wait him up before deep diving, but is it going to be enough? Jaru takes down the people that were injured and then some. Ends up with 3 before it's all said and done, but the rest of LG Evil able to reestablish on the point, and it does work out for them in the very end.
Fozix continues to hold control of that pack onto right side, the one nearest to the point. It's a good map for Sombra in 3 because everywhere there's megas. This is just a map chock full of ultimate mega packs.
It is, but Sandy was able to take down Super before he could remech, and things are already looking good for EnVision here with this advantage. Sandy, plenty of room to work with on his shots, not able to land the shots he's looking for in the very beginning. So it is back and forth right now, but Rob 420 is going to fall, and EnVision slowly putting this in their favor. And finally, Jake puts an end to the terror of Sadie.
Yeah, Sadie doing a ton of work. Fozix, I've just been watching him the whole time. He's going to have his EMP up at the ready too. Takes out a couple low health targets too, showing supports can track as well. And he's had control of that pack the whole time. The right side pack, the big one. Or right side from his perspective.
Yeah, Fozix goes there and he doesn't want to hack something someone else has already hacked. He just finds it offensive at that point. It's like, why would I do this? I want to have my own hacking work. Well, he's under pressure and he's not able to finish the hack, so Jake protecting territory there, if nothing else. But here's the thing going to this next fight. Rob 420 still a little bit away from the EMP. Fozix has his up, and he can open up here and give a good opportunity to EnVision.
Well, the Destruct comes in, and Fozix unable to translocate out of there. Perhaps he didn't see it, so he goes down. Now Sanie's still doing some good work, and now Primal's out. EMP comes in onto a already hurt team, so LG Evil should be able to take this point back.
Yep, and Sandy the last one alive, and only by virtue of being far out of the EMP blast radius that time around. The window has worked out well, though, for EnVision so far. I mean, I don't think I would swap it here just yet as Sandy. Sure, they just lost that, but all they really need is 1, maybe 2 more good fights to take this round in totality.
Nah, he's got his ult up as well, and there's going to be EMP, too.
We're hunting Jakes. That's what we're hunting. We're hunting Jakes.
Quiet, it's Jake season.
Oh, but it immediately swapped to a Voss season. Sadie over the top, domes Voss in the very beginning, and this is looking decisive for EnVision as they're able to take it right back.
Saini, just a veteran of Overwatch, has been around for a long time on a lot of different teams in Europe, was struggling to find a team for a while, and he's definitely found a home here. And like I said, his versatility is one of the greatest marks of him, and it's not that you lose a ton. I mean, this has been some excellent Widow play.
And you don't see that very often. Usually when people swap to Widow and not playing it for a while, it's somewhat difficult. But now Saini making LG Evil run the Widowmaker obstacle course, going, okay, how do we engage without losing someone? But that's the way you do it. Jake comes in from the flip side, catches Saini off guard, and that is going to let LG Evil start with an advantage. But for how long is Sharu? Evens it back out on the other side. And now there's not a lot to check Sharu at this point, Hex. He has plenty of room to work with.
Oh, completely. The EMP also comes out for Phozix right there, and they should be able to clean that up. EnVision now one stage away from moving on to fighting mortals.
Let's just clarify that. EnVision is one stage away from taking down LG Evil, who is a huge favorite in the beginning here.
Yeah. I gotta say, I mean, Phozix, for all the grief I gave him on the Anubis Sombra, I mean, he just controlled that map, and he played, I think, as safe as he needed to, was able to get out of a lot of situations. A dead Sombra is a bad Sombra, but if she's alive, there's almost no excuse sometimes to die, especially with Roadhog out of it. There's no stuns in the game really anymore, not in these compositions, so translocate out and always get the giant pack. You're helping yourself get EMPs, and I think he played a really nice Sombra that map.
He did, and again, I think it shows that Sombra is a work in progress, where you'll have some points where teams will play it really well and some points where teams that are not as comfortable with it will struggle, but that time the Sombra play did work out rather well as look to the skies, for there is Jake.
Alright, damage boosted, looking for early rockets, hits the one onto the Lucio. They're both in the room, this should be finishes.
It's not. He's not able to finish it off, and EnVision, they win the skirmish indoors. Jake isn't able to add enough damage from the outside, and that is decisive for EnVision. And again, this is the second time we've seen this where they see Jake coming in, and they all scramble and use cover to their advantage, and in the time that Jake's not able to lay down the damage, they end up winning the fight.
It's actually funny, because it's something that LG Evil used to do against the Pharmacy combo. They would just go into a room and hang out behind a Matrix and wait for a second. I think I called it the Pillow Fort defense. I used to do it on Eichenwald all the time, and now the tactic being used against them.
Yeah, it used to be LG Evil's specialty. Perhaps not so much anymore, but this time Coffee caught off guard Train, taking away his route of escape. 5 versus 5 here early on, but Rob420 falling immediately. Both supports are done for LG Evil, and they still might be pulling this back as it's decisive enough that they can get to the backline themselves even without having that support behind them. Train tearing through on this fight.
I prefer when they kind of ignore the Pharah and go after the ground. That's when they've had success, has EnVision, and right now they're sending a lot after Jake. Both DPS went after him. The reason they lost Coffee earlier is because Coffee went after Jake. Think focus on your positioning, stay in the buildings that you're good at fighting at, and now it's going to be difficult to push in against this.
It is, and you see the struggles as EnVision looks to come back in. Pulse Bomb out here from Train, was looking for the Winston, doesn't get it immediately, and Rob420 is just getting hunted here early on, and this time it might be much better for EnVision. Sadie on that crucial kill, making space here for the Diva, soon to have a self-destruct. We'll see if they can make the most of this here, as now they're up a player, and they're going to drop the self-destruct right onto the point. That's going to force people in and out, and Sadie gets back into the mech with 30 HP.
Well, despite all that, Jake was at 28 health most of that time, and they were unable to finish him. Now he's got his Mercy back with him, and he's ready to rain down on them.
Resurrection comes in, brings Vol back up, and Jake punishing the outside. 2 kills there for Jake. He's going to send Coffee on a ride.
They had him dead to rights at 20, and they let him get a Mega Pack and let him reconnect with his Mercy in the sky, which really hurt them. You got to finish your kills there and know your timings on that. Saini's done a good job of hunting down Rob, but once that happens, that's when you go for Jake, and I think they need to communicate that just a little bit better. Now 75% on the side of LG Evil as they fight for their upper bracket lives.
They're moving in. Jake can get sound buried here, use that to support a barrage, and right now, he's stalking the skies looking for his opportunity. Probably doesn't want to throw it in the Transcendence immediately. His team is down 2 though, so he has to find a moment soon if he is going to go for this here, and maybe he saves it, maybe not, and Yep, they just go for the reset.
Yeah, totally fine. They're about a fight away from doing so, and you don't want to throw good after bad in that situation, and you don't want to feed any ults, because right now they still don't have a ton of ults on the side of EnVision. Now it becomes a little easier to deal with the combo, though, as you're going to have superior positioning.
It's not as bad to deal with it. Jake is going to have to work a little bit harder here. You know where he's coming in from, so you can use buildings for cover a little bit more effectively, and Jake taking to the skies, the rest of his team immediately behind him, going for the ground, and at least it's well coordinated here coming in from LG Evil. I like the approach so far. They are zoning things out, and they're going to demech Sandy immediately. They catch him off guard, and that should be it for him as he's still somehow alive, able to get away. Barrage comes in from Jake. Not going to get too much right away. In fact, Sadie's still alive as Baby Diva to the back.
Fozix goes up top, tries to get something going, ends up just being a target for Jake, but Jake doesn't finish that kill. Meanwhile, it has been flipped over in favor of LG Evil again, and they have Resurrection for this next fight too. Going to be difficult to even get back on the point and touch it for EnVision. Not ideal.
It's 95%, but if they can't touch it, they will have the Dragon Blade up, and Jaru has been pretty good at that so far. Self-destruct, getting lobbed in over the top. Jaru coming in from the ground, has the blade at the ready. Deflects the rocket, looking for more. Gonna bring out the blade soon if he's gonna do it here, as odds are going against him. Here comes the blade. Dicing through tanks is what he's looking for. Gets Bull, and should be able to get the Baby Diva right out, and does. Jaru bringing the fight right back for EnVision, and that's exactly what they needed, Hex.
Fire just danced on that point for so long to let his team get in the proper positioning that they needed. He gave his life for it, but he's also nearing 91, 92%. Might have a sound barrier for this next fight. They might have both support all
from Jake. Not gonna get too much right away. In fact, Sadie's still alive as Baby Diva to the back.
Fozix goes up top, tries to get something going, ends up just being a target for Jake, but Jake doesn't finish that kill. Meanwhile, it has been flipped over in favor of LG Evil again, and they have Resurrection for this next fight too. Going to be difficult to even get back on the point and touch it for EnVision. Not ideal.
It's 95%, but if they can't touch it, they will have the Dragon Blade up, and Jaru has been pretty good at that so far. Self-destruct, getting lobbed in over the top. Jaru coming in from the ground, has the blade at the ready. Deflects the rocket, looking for more. Gonna bring out the blade soon if he's gonna do it here, as odds are going against him. Here comes the blade. Dicing through tanks is what he's looking for. Gets Bull, and should be able to get the Baby Diva right out, and does. Jaru bringing the fight right back for EnVision, and that's exactly what they needed, Hex.
Fire just danced on that point for so long to let his team get in the proper positioning that they needed. He gave his life for it, but he's also nearing 91, 92%. Might have a sound barrier for this next fight. They might have both support ultimate.
Et sinon, c'est quoi le plan?